Buckle up! It's the Football Playbook with your boy RIC and the place to be, Ric Serritella, telling it like it is when it comes to your 13-2 Philadelphia Eagles. It's Saints week. We've been breaking it down all week long here on the Football Playbook, our 83rd edition here on this Friday, December 30th, 2022. It's all brought to you by the Ocean Casino Resorts down there in Atlantic City, your home for the Conley Hockey Eagles pre- and post-game. Of course, Tone DeShields II holding it down, the super producer, and our next guest. It's been a while since we had Coach John DeFilippo on the Football Playbook, and welcome back. Good morning down there in Florida, John. Coach.
Appreciate you having me back on. I apologize for a little sabbatical there. A lot of things going on with our team and trying to sign players, and it's been a grind, but it's been a fun grind. So
understood.
So I apologize for taking a little sabbatical there, but obviously it hasn't hurt the Eagles' performance. So I was hoping for a while there. I was the lucky charm, but I don't think that's the case.
Well, yeah, a lot has changed since the last time we've had you. It's been a few weeks, so a lot has changed, but understandably so. The show has grown immensely. We got a lot of new listeners, a lot of new chat room folks, and for those who are new to the show, Coach Flip joins us almost each and every week here on the Football Playbook. Now, he is also recently named New Orleans Breakers head coach, which we're so excited about. So, yeah, the last few weeks, it's been just a little bit hectic trying to get your roster together. I see you got a new GM there for the New Orleans Breakers, and we'll be covering the USFL and all the spring league action right here on the Football Playbook. But first, hey, Coach, it says here 44 days until the Super Bowl. Wow. And suddenly, week 17, it's getting eerily similar to 2017. So a lot of the fans wanted to get your opinion on the similarities, the mindset. Jason Peters was injured just like Lane Johnson is injured. But I got to ask you, with this Jalen Hurts sprained AC joint in his throwing shoulder, typically a 10 to 14 day window to come back. Now, it's not going to heal, is my understanding. He's not going to further damage it, is my understanding. It's more of a pain tolerance thing. He missed last week. This could potentially be the second week, but suddenly we saw him on the practice field yesterday. Speculation is maybe he could play. How does Coach Flip see it? What do you think the Eagles should do? What would Coach Flip do? And how's it all going to play out, do you think?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've had that injury before when I was in college, and I don't know what degree Jalen's is. There's they usually labeled as a 1, 2, and 3. Now, to your listeners out there, I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me on this. I had a grade 1.5, 2, and it was on my throwing shoulder as well. I just took a big hit on it and tried to get underneath the tackle, and and I got hit on my shoulder, and it hurts. It hurts, and we only had 3 games left, so they were it was later in the season, and obviously we weren't 13-2 at the time, playing the number 1 seed in the NFC. But it hurts, and there's some things you can do to kind of not numb it, but calm the pain a little bit when you're playing. There's some things you can do, but it's all going to be about how he feels and how the coaches feel, and in terms of who's going to give us the best chance to win. And a lot of times there's times where a starter that's at 50, 60% or whatever he is. I'm sure Jalen's higher than that right now, but may still give you a better chance to win. And at the end of the day, what you got to factor into is, all right, we're 13-2. I don't know. I haven't studied the playoff standings, so obviously, I know there's still a chance, right, that we couldn't get the number 1 seed, right? Because does Dallas own the tiebreaker? I haven't.
Technically, everything's still in play. If the Saints lose, if the Eagles lose this week, then the NFC East is technically up for grabs. The 1 seed, if the Vikings win, will be up for grabs,
right?
And then the Giants become a must-win game.
So I think you factor all those things into play, and obviously, the Vikings are a little hot right now, and they clinched a long time ago. So your mindset when you've clinched already is totally different than when you haven't clinched, and because home field advantage throughout the playoffs, as we saw. Is a huge advantage. I mean, it's an unbelievable advantage. I mean, going to play Minnesota in the NFC Championship game in 2017 would have been a whole totally different atmosphere for us instead of playing in front of our unbelievable home fans, at the link. That would have been a totally different ball game. I'm not saying we wouldn't have won. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying the whole beginning of the game, the whole getting settled in, all that would have been totally, totally different. And home field advantage at the playoffs is huge. So those are all the things I'm sure that are going through not only Coach Sirianni's mind, Coach Steichen's mind, but also through Jalen's. And they'll get together and they'll do what's best for the team. And the medical people over at the Eagles are great, and I'm sure Mr. Lurie and Howie are going to have a say in that as well. And they'll get a lot of smart people over there from ownership on down, and they'll come out with the best answer.
No, it's a big deal, right? Because the number one seed, a dome team versus a Northeast team, could be a big deal where you play and come January. So I got to go back though, Coach. You said you've had this injury.
Mm-hmm.
It was late in the season, so you weren't the 13-2 one seed. So
right.
did you shut it down, and did you feel like you were able to play?
I probably could have. Again, every injury is different. Everybody's pain tolerance is different. Everybody's different and everything. I probably could have played again in 2 weeks if I needed to.
Okay.
I had 3 games left, so they were just like, "Hey, we're not going to." We were out of the N1AA playoffs at the time, so coach was like, "Hey, we're just going to sit you and get ready for spring football." So, it's hey, Dank Burrito, you made me laugh. You're the one that made me laugh out loud with that comment. That's funny, but. Yeah, I mean, I probably could have played after 2 weeks if I needed to. Sure.
Okay, so then with that being said, let me ask you this. You having had the injury, having known the position, and then we know from the outside the toughness of Jalen Hurts as a coach, how do you kind of
There's times you have to protect players from themselves.
Right. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
You know what I mean? There's times where you just got to say, "Hey, bro, you ain't playing this week." And that they get mad at you and they'll slam the door. And at the end of the day, I think they always appreciate that you have their best interests in mind. And obviously we've seen the competitiveness all season of Jalen Hurts. So I guarantee the kid's itching to play. I mean, there's no doubt in the way that young man's made up that he wants to play. And, so it'll be interesting to see the decision.
No, it will be interesting to see. I do think he'll be good to go for the playoffs, at least give it a shot.
Right.
With that being said, it's probably going to be Minshew Mania at least another week.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was a lot of good. I thought there was a lot of bad last week. I thought it was a mixed bag of results. I do think he got stronger as the game wore on, though. And I do think we'll see a better Gardner Minshew.
It's hard, man. It's hard. I mean, we're late in the season, and Gardner hasn't had a lot of time. I mean, he hasn't probably taken besides the little bit he's played, I think when they've blown some people out, it's been a while since he's had some reps with the ones. And it's hard to get in there and get some rhythm with those guys going full speed. And I know Gardner's played before, and I agree with you. I mean, they put up a lot of points. They put up a ton of points, and with Gardner in there and the number 2 quarterback. And you guys know my feelings on Gardner. I'm a little biased, because I've worked with him and been, sat in the same meeting room with him for a year. And so I'm a little biased, in my opinion. I'm just giving your viewers that out there. But like I've said somewhere else, I think Gardner is a top 32 quarterback in the world. I do. And the Eagles are lucky to have him.
Coach, let me ask you then.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, let me ask you then what I noticed and get your opinion, because I'm curious to hear your take on it. When I watched Gardner Minshew this past week, it did not look like the upper body and lower body were working in sync. And he was throwing off platform. He was throwing off his back foot. He was throwing sidearm at times. Is that just part of his game?
That's his game. And, everybody has flaws, as we all know. And, I'm sure there was some getting the ball out early and, this and that, against the Cowboys with their pass rush and that. But Gardner works hard in the offseason on his platform and throwing off platform. And that's part of his game because he's not 6'4", so you're going to have to shape some throws when you're not 6'4", 6'5". I mean, you see Jalen shape some throws. I mean, there's times you see ball here. There's times you see it where they got to shape it here around somebody. I mean, so when you're not 6'5" or 6'4", you're going to have to shape some throws.
Okay. No, great insight and perspective. I appreciate it. We're talking to Coach John DeFilippo, of course, of your world champion Philadelphia Eagles. Take us back, Coach, 2017, because down goes Wentz, in comes Foles. We all know the story, but take us back inside the four walls of the room. What is that conversation like, and how do you kind of speak to the team not knowing who your starter is going to be? So how do you deal with it in the quarterback room?
Yeah.
How do you approach it to the team level?
I would have a feeling that they know. They have a good feeling on they have a. I don't want to guess, but I would have a guess that they're leaning one way or the other right now. You know what I'm saying in terms of what they're going to do. Obviously, you don't want to say anything because you don't want to give the opponent any advantage. But I have a feeling that the coaches by what's today, Friday, they kind of know. I mean, today's a lighter practice. You practice short yardage, goal line, red zone, a little bit of review of third down. Friday practice isn't that long, so I think they have a pretty good feel on what's going to happen and who's going to play. Again, in 17, it was a little bit different because we knew Carson was out with torn ACL, so the mindset was different where we literally had to shift from one guy to the next. And both guys handled it like pros. I gave myself the flight home from LA to kind of mope and kind of put my head down. But then, I told myself, I said, you better snap out of this now, because anything other than your best is going to be a disservice not only to the team, but to Nick. And so I had to get mentally myself ready to go and put that aside. And we all felt bad for Carson. He was having an MVP type season. But when you don't give the team and the guys in your room your 100%, 100% everything in terms of your detail, in terms of, the way you're pushing those guys. If there's any change, those guys know it. Flips doesn't have as much juice today. He must be down because Carson's hurt. That's not fair to Nick Foles, right? That wasn't fair to Nate Sudfeld. That wasn't fair to those guys. So we tried to keep things as business as usual as we could. But at the same time, we all felt obviously bad for Carson.
Yeah, and I want to get a prediction from you with this Eagles game before you go. I do have to mention, though, Carson and Nick both starting this week. I don't know if you saw that or been able to keep up with that. So they're
absolutely
both going to be in the starting saddle again. Any thoughts there?
No, I just wish those guys the best. I wish those guys the best, and I stay in touch with those guys throughout the season. And I've been with Nick 3 places. Nick came down with me to Jacksonville, and then back up with me to Chicago. And he's obviously he and I have a very special relationship. So I always wish those guys the best. The quarterback room is so intimate because there's not a lot of people in there. You get very close with guys' wives, kids. You spend more time with those guys than you do your own family. So it's just it's a very close knit group, and so I wish those guys, all the guys that I've been fortunate enough to coach, and I wish all those guys the best.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing Washington maybe sneak into the playoff hunt.
Could be.
It's interesting that you could still have all 4 NFC East teams in the dance. And going back to your point, Tone DeShields in the chat said, "Hey, Eagles control their own destiny. Win. You lock up the number 1 seed, and that's it."
And that's a great place to be, because you're not the one that's coming in from the 1 o'clock game looking at your phone to see if the Cowboys won or not, or if the Eagles lost or not. If you're on the Cowboys, hey, I guarantee that's what Coach Sirianni's message is, guys. Let's just go out and be us, man.
Right.
We've been us all year. We've played great. We've had a couple of hiccups in some games, but at the same time, we've played good all season, and let's go out and be us, and let's just go win and not pull out of press, not be tight. And that's, a key thing for the coaching staff too, because everything kind of flows downhill. If the players feel the coaches are tight, they're going to feel it too. And just go out, be there, be loose, show your emotions, be yourself, and just go out and play. And, this is a game I think the Eagles should win.
Yeah. And, remember too, the new playoff format, the number 1 seed is the only seed that gets a first round bye. So hopefully, when we come back next week, it'll be all sealed and wrapped and delivered. But The Saints are not to be slept on, Coach. They have not allowed 20 points since week 9. Do you think Gardner gets the job done? It sounds like you're confident.
I do. Oh yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, I think you're going to see it. Like usually, like from an offense, a team standpoint, your biggest jump is from week 1 to week 2 to start the season. Like it's just some flow. Like we've taken a snap. We're good. I think you're going to see the same thing from Gardner. I'd be shocked if he doesn't come out and play well.
All right. We shall see it. Coach, always appreciate the time.
Hey, by the way, what's up with the beard, man? That's new, huh?
Coach, it's been a while since I've seen. Hey, we did the yeah, boom.
You're raised me.
Hey, Coach, it's been stressful times, as you know.
Oh, and, okay. I feel your pain. Trust me.
I know you've got a lot going on. Greatly appreciate the time. I know we'll be chopping it up offline, and thanks so much for chopping it up.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. And hey, always go Eagles. I appreciate everybody. You know, in the chat room. You guys are awesome, man. I love reading your comments. Like I told you, man, made me laugh out loud, dude. I needed that one today, brother.
You're our favorite guest, by the way, on the Football Playbook. So we missed you, man.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. It really does. And I hope everyone had a great Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yeah, look at me how rude I was. I skipped right over the holiday chairs. I didn't even say Merry Christmas or Happy New Year or nothing. Goes to show you where my head is at. I shaved my brain off too, Coach.
I love it. It looks good on you, brother.
Hey, we're trying over here, man. That's all we can do, right, Coach? Hey,
no doubt, man.
Buckle up. Enjoy the rest of the year. We'll catch you next year. And, can't thank you enough for the great insight.
See you guys next week. See you, Tone. Have a great holiday, brother.
Coach Flip back